my name is Natalie. My protein paper was over insulin, and that's what this presentation will be over. First off, what is a protein? Proteins are very crucial and fundamental building block of the body. And that's within all living organisms. They're made up of long chains of amino acids, and these are directly involved in the essential chemical processes that, again, were needed for life. Proteins are species specific and organ specific. This means that between two species, the proteins within each of them are going to be different. It also, for organ specific, this means the proteins within the brain versus those in the kidney versus those in the liver, they're all going to also be different. Primary functions of proteins are to create hormones, assist in development and repair. They create energy, and they transport and store molecules. They also create enzymes. Protein structure. The primary structure of protein is going to be the sequence of amino acids. This is what helps determine that. The secondary structure is going to be either one of two, the alpha helix, or the beta pleated sheet. So you're going to have one of two different secondary structures. The alpha helix, of course, is going to be coiled, as is seen in there, and the beta pleated one is going to be like sheets of pleated fabric. The tertiary structure of the protein is going to consist of many different bonds that are going to help to solidify the proteins. This is going to be mostly due to the hydrophobic and hydrophilic reactions that are occurring within the protein at this time. Your quaternary structure is what's going to determine the macromolecule that's formed. So in our case, the structure of all the amino acids and all the bonds is going to result in our macromolecule of insulin. Here we have the ribbon model of insulin. What is insulin? Insulin is a hormone that's secreted from the pancreas when there's an increase in blood sugar. Now, this is necessary for survival. Insulin receptors will absorb glucose from the bloodstream and into the cell. It's necessary in order to gain the calories the body needs for the many foods we consume on a daily basis. So a lack of insulin is going to have a lot of negative effects. It doesn't matter if you ate everything in your house, you drank everything, if your body is not able to absorb those calories and those nutrients from that food, it's going to deplete and eventually you'll die. Some diseases associated with insulin are, of course, type 1 and type 2 diabetes. These charts are going to describe those two things. I'll go further into that in a moment. Because of there being an increase in obesity, we are seeing a lot more diseases associated with this protein rising. There's a lot of diseases associated with resistance of it besides diabetes as well. One of these is type A insulin resistance. This is going to be a severe form of insulin resistance where the body's tissues do not respond to the hormone. Unlike type 1 and type 2 diabetes, where the body fails to make insulin entirely as it does in type 1, or in type 2 it just doesn't respond appropriately, this is just going to completely have an entire resistance, no response to it whatsoever. To further dive into type 1 diabetes, what essentially is happening is the pancreas is no longer creating any more insulin. Because of this, the host is going to have to take shots of insulin in order for the body to absorb the glucose. It needs to be there, and because there is not a resistance, it's just stopped creating the substance. The body is still going to use that insulin that's been injected, take everything out of the bloodstream that it needs, and process that. Type 2 diabetes is somewhat of a gained resistance. The body is making insulin, however, it's not using it efficiently. It's not absorbing all the glucose that it needs with what it has. Because of that, there are pills, and you can take injections for this as well, but there's a lot of other ways that they are people with type 2 diabetes are able to treat this and absorb the nutrients that they need. And so to summarize, without insulin in our bodies, like I previously stated, you would not survive. This is such a crucial element to survival. There are many other proteins and enzymes and just all sorts of other systems that our body does that we do also need to survive. However, without insulin, the glucose would, our blood glucose levels would just go insane, and we wouldn't be able to regulate that, which could also be deadly. But mostly the body isn't going to be able to absorb those things out of the bloodstream that it needs, specifically the glucose and the carbohydrates, which we use to create energy. And that's it.